Hello, I'm Tony from Bonner's Music, and this is my full feature presentation for the new Nord Piano 5. So in this video I'm going to go into some depth about some of the features, but most of all I'm going to play the piano for you, and I'm going to play lots of the other sounds as well to give you an indication of what's achievable with this really superb instrument. So I would really suggest that you listen to this video through a really good pair of speakers or a good set of headphones, just so you can really hear the true quality of the Piano 5. So the Piano 5 has now arrived in our stores, and it's also available to purchase on our website. So we have one store in Eastbourne on the south coast, one in Reigate in Surrey, which is just off of junction 8 of the M25, and we have another store in Milton Keynes just off of the M1 motorway. All of our stores have car parking, and you can compare the Piano 5 with other instruments from different manufacturers. But because this video is on YouTube and it could be on here for a very long time, just give us a call first, just to make sure that we've got the instrument you want to see in the store of your choice. So remember, when you purchase your new keyboard from Bonner's Music, you're not only getting a product that was made for the UK market with the correct UK mains lead and owner's manual, and of course a UK based warranty, you're also getting the very, very best technical support in the UK as well. Because after you've purchased your keyboard, if you have any questions about it at all, you'll have direct contact with myself or one of my colleagues who can really help you get the very best out of the machine. So if you're using it on stage or in a studio or at home and you want it to do a particular function, you're not quite sure how to do it, get in touch with us after you've purchased it, and we really will do our very best to ensure that you're getting the best value for money from your purchase. So sit back and relax and enjoy the sounds and the features of the Piano 5. So when you first look at it, especially if you're new to Nord keyboards, you'd think there are an awful lot of buttons and knobs and sliders and things, and it could be a bit daunting. But that's what I really love about Nord keyboards, is that when you're doing a live performance and you want to make a change, there tends to be a knob or a button for almost all of the features that you need most of the time when you're playing. So you don't have to delve into too many menus. If you want to change something, you literally grab a knob and change it or hit a button. And it really is a very, very simple keyboard to understand. So it's laid out in sections, and really you start from the left hand side here and you've got your piano section, and then you gradually build up, adding effects, adding more sounds to craft your own kind of voices, and then you store them using the screen in the middle. So let's just start off on the left hand side. So you've got your master volume, and as I've said, this is the piano section. So I can just switch on the piano section and I get the first piano sound, which is the sound that Nord call the white grand. It's actually a sample of a Steinway, and it really is a lovely sound. So it's a really warm piano sound. Now, you can select different piano voices. Either pressing this button here takes you through the categories. So I've got grand piano, upright piano, electric piano, that's your kind of Fender Rhodes, your clavs, you've got digital piano instruments, so that's things like Yamaha's DX7 piano sound, and then there's a miscellaneous category which has got some tuned percussion like vibes. But if we go back to grand, you'll see on the screen it says white grand. Now if I turn this little knob here, that cycles through lots of different grand piano samples. So the Nord Piano 5 has 2 gigabytes of memory for you to load piano sounds into. Now it already comes full of lots of really great piano sounds, but if you go to Nord's website, which is nordkeyboards.com, completely free of charge, if you purchase a Nord instrument, you've got access to all of their different piano libraries, and there's lots and lots of great, really high quality piano sounds that you can download into the piano section of the Piano 5. So if we just have a listen to some of the different piano sounds we've got, so you've already heard the white grand. which is that sound. Then we've got the Royal Grand. Now this is another classic Nord piano sound, and it's absolutely beautiful. Just have a listen to this. So as you could hear, really beautiful acoustic piano voices. Now, what you've been listening to are the sounds of just the raw piano samples with no effects. Now, what I'm going to do is come over to the far right of the control panel here and select the reverb and switch it on. You've got different types of reverb effect here. You've got booth, room, stage, hall and cathedral. So I'm going to select the hall reverb. So actually, let's switch it off first so you can just hear the dry sound. Switch on the reverb, turn it up a little bit. It's got a really nice natural decay. It's kind of a really good quality studio reverb unit in here. It's beautiful. So let's just play something, same piano voice with the reverb effect on as well. So. So if you're considering using the Piano 5 for recording purposes, the built-in reverb is absolutely beautiful. So let's now look at another one of the piano voices in the Piano 5, and that's the sound of the Grand Imperial. Now, I've actually used this sound myself when I've been playing in a band situation, because it's got a little bit more brightness and attack to it, and it certainly cuts through a mix, especially when you're competing with other musicians on stage. Now, what I'd also like to show you is a control called the timbre control, which is on the piano section, and this gives you control over the character or the tonal character of the piano sound. So this is the sound of the Grand Imperial, just the standard sound. Now, if I switch on the timbre control, you've got the soft control. That's exactly the same piano sound, but with the soft timbre, but I'm going to turn it up to bright. Now listen to the difference. So it completely changes the character of the sound, but ideal if you're playing on stage and you need to quickly have a bright piano sound, just hit that button and it really cuts through the mix. So let's now take a look at the electric piano sounds that you'll find in the Piano 5. They're actually divided into two categories. You've got your vintage EPs, so that's your kind of Fender Rhodes and Wurlitzer type sounds. They're in the electric piano category. But if we change this to digital, then you get the sort of 1980s and 90s electric piano sounds, things like the Yamaha DX7, Roland RD1000, and even the piano sound from the Roland JD800 synth as well. So let's go to the vintage category first of all, and this is just the raw Fender Rhodes sample with no effects. It's literally just the dry Fender Rhodes sound. Just have a listen to this. So really great Fender Rhodes sample, but again, using the timbre button, I'm going to change this not to soft, bright or medium this time, but this time I'm going to use the dyno setting. Now, many years ago, there was a famous graphic equalizer called the Dyno EQ, and it was used by many artists in the 60s and 70s when they play Fender Rhodes, and it gives it a completely different character. So first of all, actually, let's turn that off and let's just have a listen to the sound on its own. So I'm going to play the same thing twice so you can hear the difference with the Dyno EQ. So now I'll switch the Dyno EQ on. So that's exactly the same Fender Rhodes sample, but with a different EQ setting, and you can hear how the character of it changes. So there are actually 10 vintage EP samples loaded into the Piano 5 when you get it. You can, of course, download more, just like you can download more acoustic piano samples from the nordkeyboards.com website. But you can really change the tone of each individual sound. So although there are 10 samples, you can create so many really unlimited variations in tone. So as with the piano sounds, we could add some effects as well. So let's go back to that raw, that's the raw Rhodes sound. Maybe I could add some tremolo to it just by switching on this section here. We can also add some chorus, so we can do that at the same time because we've got two different modulation effects blocks here. We can use two different modulation effects at the same time. So we've now got tremolo and chorus. So. Now let's try the phaser effect. You could also, of course, add the amp simulator as well. So very often people played their Fender Rhodes through a Roland Jazz Chorus amp, and the Piano 5 has a computer-generated model of a Roland Jazz Chorus. It's here, JC. So if you want to add a little bit of distortion or overdrive to give a bit more bite to the sound, then turn on the amp simulator. I'm going to put a little bit of reverb on here as well, and you get this kind of sound. So that was just dealing with the Fender Rhodes piano sample, just one single sample. Now let's change to the Wurlitzer piano sound. No effects, just the raw Wurlitzer piano sample. Have a listen to this. So another one of my favourite sound categories is the sound of the clav. Again, there are multiple variations of clavs in the Piano 5. one that I particularly like is this one. Really funky sound, but again you can use the effects unit here to real great effect. So first of all, put on the touch wah, and you get this kind of effect. What I also like to do is turn on the amp simulator, so you've got the wah going through the distorted sound of the amp, and you get this kind of effect. And then of course you could add some delay as well, so you get just a slight echo on the sound as well. And again, this is another classic clav type sound. Now if we switch to the digital piano category, this is where, as I said earlier, you get sounds like the Yamaha DX7, that classic 1980s ballad electric piano sound. So this is again the raw sound with no effects. But I like to add some chorus to that sound, so. And as I said earlier, there is also the sound of the Roland RD1000, and that's been a staple part of Elton John's piano sound for many, many years. So let's just have a listen to the RD1000 on its own. So what Elton John does is actually layer the sound of the RD1000 digital grand with the acoustic piano grand sound as well. So on the Piano 5 we can actually layer two piano voices together. So I've got the sound of the digital grand, I've also got the sound of an acoustic grand. So that's actually the sound of, it's called Studio Grand 2. Now if I press both grey buttons together, it activates both piano sounds at the same time, so you get this kind of sound. Now in addition to that, you can also layer sounds from the synth section, and that's actually what the synth section on the Nord Piano 5 is really meant for. It's for layering sounds with the piano sounds. So if I switch on one of the layers on the synth section, let's switch off the piano altogether for now. Let's just have a listen to the first synth pad sound that I've chosen here, which is this sound. So what I can do now is layer the sound of that synth pad with the two piano sounds as well. So I just activate those piano sounds again, and I get the perfect kind of Elton John-ish type sound. For songs like this, let's try this one. This is a song he wrote called The One. So really great, very powerful sound. And so you can be very, very creative with the Piano 5 with the layering opportunities. So as we've started looking through some of the synth sounds, let's turn off the piano sound generator and we'll just have a listen to some of the sounds that you'll find in the sample synth section. Now the sample synth section, it has an awful lot of sounds loaded into it already, but you can also again download more sounds from the nordkeyboards.com website. But also if you check out nordforums.com, if you create yourself an account on there, you can actually download content that's been created by other Nord keyboard users. So if you're looking for a particular sound for a particular song, you may well find it in the Nord keyboard forum. So it's well worth checking that website out. So to select different sounds within the sample synth section, you have two controls here. The one on the left chooses a sound category and the one on the right chooses the individual voice within that category. So in this example, I've chosen the choir category and the first sound is men and women. But I can change that to a different sound. So if we change category again, let's go to string ensemble, and this is the first string sound you hear. Now you've got some control over certain parameters of the sound. So for instance, that string sound, let's just have a listen again. I like to have a little bit of release, so when I let go of the keys, the sound just dies away a little bit more. It sort of sustains a little bit. So let's just turn up this knob here which says release then. So you've got some control. You can also control the attack of the sound as well. So you can either have a very fast attack or make it so the sound comes in slower. And that kind of slow attack works really well when you mix the string sound with the piano sound. So if I switch the piano on again, I can also alter the volume of the string sound here and the piano sound here. So you've got completely independent volume controls over both parts. So let's just play something using the piano and the strings. So piano and strings layer, it's a classic layer, but it just is lovely to play. So let's now just have a listen to some of the other sounds that you'll find preloaded into the sample synth section. So as you could hear, the Piano 5 really is very versatile. It's more than just piano. There's a lot of brass sounds, synth sounds, string sounds, and a whole host of sounds for lots of different styles of music. Now, the great thing with the Piano 5 is that you can actually layer up to 4 sounds together. So in this next example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer a standard acoustic grand piano sound just like this. And I'm going to mix that with that 1980s Yamaha DX7 sound which I played earlier, which was this sound. So if I just switch on both parts on the piano section, we'll have the acoustic grand mixed with that 1980s DX7 sound, which is this kind of sound. And that was kind of a classic kind of combination that was made famous actually by a producer called David Foster, and you will have heard lots of his tracks throughout the 80s, 90s and more recently too. Now we have the synth section as well, of course, and we can layer 2 sounds there, so you can have 2 synth sounds and 2 piano sounds layered together. So what I'm going to do is in the next piece of playing, I'm going to play the piano sound, the electric piano as well, layer them together and add a string pad and some strings. And you'll see that I'm actually manipulating the sound, switching them on and off in real time whilst I'm playing. I'm also altering the volumes as well. And all of that is possible to do because there are so many controls on the panel of the Piano 5, which make it very easy to adjust things whilst you're playing. So I'm just going to play a short piece of music. It's actually a piece of music by Elton John called Shine On Through. And then I'm going to repeat the piece again, and I'm just going to voice over and tell you what I'm doing and kind of explain how I'm achieving the sounds that you're hearing. But I think it just shows how versatile the Piano 5 is. So you could see how flexible it was whilst I was playing. So let's now just play that again, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing. So I will switch to a different camera shot so you can see the panel, and then I will just explain what I'm doing when I'm pressing the buttons or turning the knobs. So I start off just with the sound of the white grand piano. There's no reverb, there's no effects, you're listening to just the piano sample. Now I've activated the first synth part, which has a nice warm pad assigned to it. You can just hear it in the background there. And I raise the volume of the synth part just for that pause in the music. And now I've activated the second piano part, which has a sort of 1980s electric piano assigned to it, with some chorus as well, just to add some warmth. Synth part, which has orchestral strings assigned to it, and that builds up a nice crescendo towards the end. Raise the volume of the strings there, and now we're back to just solo piano. just bring those orchestral strings back for the final chord. So I hope you'll agree that the Nord Piano 5 is a really great musician's instrument. If you love performing, then the Piano 5 is great, because there's just so many things that you can touch and change whilst you're actually performing, and it makes your performance more interesting, both for yourself and for the people listening. Something that I haven't shown you yet is the fact that you can actually split the keyboard as well. So I can have one sound on my right, or in fact 2 sounds on my right, 2 sounds on my left, or you can split the keyboard however you want. So let's do that. So let's just go back to a piano sound. Now what I need to do is switch on the keyboard split button here, and you see a light comes on there, and that tells me where my keyboard is split. Now I need to assign the piano sound to the upper register. So I just press the button here, so it assigns the piano to the upper. Now you'll hear piano until I get to the green light, and then nothing. So actually that keyboard splits in the wrong place for me. So I'll just press this button here, and you'll see it cycles through some predetermined split points. So I'm gonna split the keyboard here, and then there's nothing there at the moment. What I'm going to do now is switch on my sample synth, and I'm going to assign that to the lower part of the keyboard. So I'll press that button there. And so I've got a synth pad there and a piano sound there. But let's change this to a bass sound. So we use our category button here to change to what we've got synth bass. Let's turn the volume up a little bit. But let's have a normal acoustic or electric bass. Let's see what we can find. Here we go, bass, finger bass. So for me, that piano sounds a little bit too high in its registers for me, so you can just use the octave shift button here to take it down an octave, so that fits in a little bit nicer with the bass. So I've got a very simple keyboard split there. Let's change the bass sound to something different. We've got, here we go, so what we've got here, jazz upright bass. I'm going to change the split point as well. It's still a little bit too high for me, so I'll press the button. I want to get it to here. So there we go. So the split point now is there. So sounds a little bit dead without some reverb. So let's add a little bit of reverb to that as well. Let's use the stage reverb. I like that. There we go. So very simple to create your own keyboard split. You can store that very simply. Just press the store button twice, and that stores it into the location you're in. You can go in and rename it as well, so you can give every one of your own sounds a name. And it does come preloaded with a few hundred of factory created layers of sounds and splits and all sorts. You'll find all sorts of different sounds in there. So that brings me to the end of my Piano 5 demonstration. Thank you very much for watching. I think you'll agree it's a really versatile instrument, and if you do want to come and get your hands on one to try it first before you make a purchase, then get in touch with us. Just make sure it's in stock in the store that's closest to you. We offer part exchange as well, so if you've got an instrument you want to upgrade to a Piano 5, then again email us some details of what you've got and we'll get right back to you with a part exchange valuation. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in another one of my keyboard demonstration videos.